Vishnupadan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvatamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhesha Kripa Sindhubhye Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminati Namine Nama Harijanagana Badi Jnana Karmandahari Prakritata Parabhaktir Bhakti Siddhanta Kantihi Vinaya Nikara Lakshmi Nimna Maidaira Gamyo Bhuvijayati Vikaso Bhakti Purvo Yatindraha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminati Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshtarine Vagisha Yasivadane Lakshmi Desa Shivakshasi Yashasya Hridaye Samvitam Nrsimham Aham Bhaje Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripatam Aham Bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Yasya Deve Parabhaktir Yata Deve Tata Guru Tasyaite Katita Hyata Prakashante Mahatmanaha. Okay, so we're continuing our um, insignificant attempt to continue to expound upon Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's um, phenomenal poem called Vaishnav Ke Dushtaman. And we were on verse number 7, the last session that we had. And we have about, 11 more verses to go. Let's see, maybe I could cover 3 or 4 today, and then I could cover the rest. Oh, I don't think I can, but anyway, let's see how fast I go. Okay, so also Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Shri Vashabhanavi Devi Dayitai Kripabdaya Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryo Chula Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhakti Dashi Gaura Karana Shakti Vigrahaya Namosate Namaste Gauravani Shri Murte Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddhapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harine. So in verse number 8, he says, everyone can see the screen, right? The
Yes, Prabhu.
okay. Tomar pratishtha shukrera vishta. Tara saha sama kabu na manav. Matsarata vashe tumi jade rashe. Maje che chadiya kirtana shoshta. So the translation is your cheap reputation. Now the reputation that people usually we perform devotional service. Why are we performing devotional service? We're performing devotional service for the pleasure of Guru and Gauranga. But then at a certain point of time, if we stop to perform devotional service for the pleasure of the spiritual master, and we start to perform devotional service for reputation, then he says, Tomar pratishta shukarera bhishta. Your cheap reputation is equal to the stool of a hog. An ordinary ambitious man like you can never be equated with a devotee of Madhavendra Puri's eminence. Under the sway of envy, you have drowned yourself in the filthy waters of material enjoyment after having abandoned the excellent perfection of congregational kirtan. So it's very important, right? And I was reading in the Mood and Mission of Srila Prabhupada, because we're packing everything up, I don't, luckily I made a note of it, but I made a note in this in the Mood and Mission, Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, he has a whole section called No Personal Ambition. It's a very amazing section, actually. It's in volume 3, it's page number 416. And I'd like to, is there any way I could copy paste these and then post it in such a way that the devotees could read them? Our dear tech acharyas, any suggestions? Should I post it in
You
the
can
group chat?
post in the chat, Prabhuji, or you can post in the WhatsApp, Prabhuji.
Group chat or WhatsApp? Okay. So I like to read a couple of these. And okay, I'll post it in the group chat, I suppose. And then from there I could copy paste it. Okay. So in this section of the Mood and Mission, Maharaj speaks about how we should not have any personal ambition. So we see this over here. that, uh, okay. So we see this in this section. Maharaj, it starts off with quoting Srila Prabhupada. He says, um, let's see if I can pull it up. Whose laptop is it? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to copy paste this here. Okay. So now if we see the chat, I copy pasted the whole section. Oh, it's too long. Anyway, I'll just start reading it and let's see how it goes. So, no personal ambition. This Krishna consciousness movement is not meant for fulfilling one's personal ambition. Dangerously, once there is motive, everything is spoiled. And thus Srila Prabhupada checked such tendencies in his leading disciples. So, Prabhupada goes on to say over here, he says, uh, okay. I just posted a small quote. So, no personal ambition. The Krishna consciousness movement is not meant for fulfilling one's personal ambition. Dangerously, once there is motive, everything is spoiled. That Srila Prabhupada checked such tendencies in his leading disciples whenever he saw them arise. Our life is very short. The Krishna consciousness movement is not meant for fulfilling one's personal ambition, but it's a serious movement for the whole world. So we see this over here, and then sometimes when we perform devotional service, we may get carried away. We may get carried away into making it the international society for spreading our own glories, right? We want to spread our own glories far and wide. Oh, preaching is good, but it should happen under me. Preaching is good, but I make sure that you tell everyone that it's by my blessings that you got all this. It's make sure everyone knows. Make sure everyone knows that it's because of me that things are thriving. You should not let anyone else think that it's because of anyone else. It is because of me that things are thriving. And if it's not like that, then it is very bad, right? So we should be very careful of such tendencies arising but in our own Krishna consciousness, because it's very before you know it, very quickly it can become about you and not about Guru and Krishna. Like you can see, I'm going to be sharing over here. There's a small. Is that visible? I kept something in green. Is that
Yes,
visible?
Prabhuji.
Okay. So he says equating personal ambition with poison that can smash even a great spiritual institution. Srila Prabhupada warned his leading disciples to not go the same way as a Gaudiya man. I want you all, my experienced disciples, should manage the whole institution very cleverly without any personal ambition like ordinary materialistic men. The Gaudiya Math institution has become smashed, at least stopped its program of preaching work on account of personal ambition. I shall request you all not to be personally ambitious. Then, next quote. Spiritual movement, as soon as there is money and power, it deteriorates. Just like the Gaudiya Math, spiritual propaganda diminished. So every one of us should be very careful of this. The central point in management is the order of the spiritual master. I can give you suggestions how to manage everything, but it's up to the GBC to practically execute all these points. Analyzing how insincerity in serving the Guru had disrupted the Gaudiya Math, Srila Prabhupada pointed his own disciples on the right track. The difficulty is sometimes things that are interpreted in a manner dovetailing one's own sense gratification. I've got this personal experience in my Guru Maharaj's institution. Different God brothers took the words of our Guru Maharaj in different interpretations for sense gratification, and the whole mission disrupted. I'm always afraid of this crack, but I am sure if our aim is to serve Krishna sincerely and the spiritual masters simultaneously, that will be our success. That means qualifications and duties of leaders. Serve Krishna and the spiritual masters simultaneously with equal faith and serious vow, and the success is sure. Observing that this material nature is such a thing that as soon as you get a little power, you get puffed up. Srila Prabhupada concluded, this is demoniac nature. He noted that a certain leading disciple had the tendency to consider, I am the Lord of all I survey. But rather, A soul dedicated to the service of the Lord should never think of himself as a personal proprietor or the superintendent. Still seeing some of his leaders becoming affected by power, Srila Prabhupada frankly told them, this is the difficulty, that as soon as one gets power, he becomes whimsical and spoils everything. At one point, he directly stated to the leader, I shall request you all to not be personally ambitious. So, this is direct instructions from our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. And where is he getting from? He's getting it from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He's getting these important points from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and we should be very careful to make sure that we don't fall prey to personal ambition. Of course, following Srila Prabhupada, my own Guru Maharaj, I remember once I was talking to him, and that's when our book distribution just started soaring. He was it was going to be his second visit to America after a long time, especially visiting Christian life. And then I told him, Guru, we were having this ecstatic meeting, and he was preaching to us, and we were all fired up. And then I told Guru Maharaj, I'm very excited. I'm very excited to hear your next plans to take over the world with Krishna consciousness. And he said, well, Mahotsaha Prabhu, he calls me Mahotsaha Prabhu, not even like Mahotsaha Rascal or Mahotsaha Dasa. He just calls me Mahotsaha. It's amazing. And he said, the plan is simple. What's the plan? He said the plan is books and farms, right? And he often quoted this letter, which he alluded to, which I'll read out very shortly. Just give me 1 minute. Um, the letter I just saw it. 1 minute. Okay. Book. This is from TKG's diary, August 9, 1977. Book distribution and farms. These are our solid programs. They can change the world. The whole foundation of animal civilization can be destroyed. Hmm? So he alluded to that. I said, Guru Maharaj, that's really exciting. And I told him, okay, Guru Maharaj, I have to go and do some service. I offered my obeisance. And he said, Mahotsaha Prabhu, but one thing, I said, yes, Guru Maharaj, but I said, be careful of personal ambition. He told me that. Why? Because he saw that in me. And, lo and behold, I had inadvertently drunk the poison of personal ambition. I have nothing to hide, unfortunately. But and then these things have their tolls. These things have their tolls on spiritual life, and you get smashed by Krishna. You get smashed by Krishna. You get smashed by the spiritual master, and it's not so much fun. It's not so much fun. That's why it's better to learn things by hearing and listening and following rather than not listening and seeing what's going to happen. Now, if I told you, hey, look, if you were to, jump off the first floor, you're going to break a bone, and you think, I don't believe this guy. He's a rascal. Why the hell should I believe him? And then, like, all right, you go and find out, and then you go and find out, and it's not so much fun, like when your bones break, right? So similarly, first class intelligence is the intelligence that one has when they hear from the spiritual master and they realize, like, oh, okay. Then second class intelligence is they hear and they see an example of someone getting messed up. They're like, oh, I don't want to do that. Third class intelligence is that you don't touch the fire, it's going to burn you. Like, oh, it's not going to burn me. And you get burnt and then you realize. So these are three different levels of intelligence that one should have. So one should, three little different levels of intelligence that one could apply. But the best intelligence is to learn is to learn by hearing. That's the best intelligence. That's the best intelligence. First class intelligence. You hear, you understand, you can realize by hearing. That's the whole point. When you hear of these points, when you hear of these points and then you can't. That's why in brahmacharya and Krishna consciousness, whether you're a man, a woman, married, not married, feminist, insane, rakshasi, whatever you may be, whoever you are or not, like that, that's always better. You should read brahmacharya and Krishna consciousness, the book meant for all the devotees to understand this. In that, my Guru Maharaj makes a very amazing point. He says, hearing with contemplation leads to realization. So when we hear these messages from our previous acharyas and we contemplate upon these messages, this hearing with such mixed with such contemplation will lead to realization. You will be able to realize so many things that's in Shastra. If you simply contemplate what's given in Shastra, if you simply contemplate the instructions of the spiritual master, you'll be able to understand these points. Was that Shravan, Manan, Nidhi, Dhyasan? You have to do these three things. If you do it, you'll be the winner. You won't be the loser. You will never lose by actually contemplating the instructions of the spiritual master. That is why Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he says, an ordinary ambitious man like you can never be equated with the devotee of Madhavendra Puri's eminence. It's impossible. Under the sway of envy, you have drowned yourselves in the filthy waters of material enjoyment after having abandoned the excellent perfection of congregational kirtan. So, under the sway of envy, sometimes, we just get, he said, what he say? He says, Matsarata Vashe, Tumi Jade Rase. Oh, man, it's so sad. Under the sway of envy, we've come to the we've come to the point of enjoying, of drowning ourselves in the filthy water of material enjoyment. It's so heavy, actually, so heavy. It's such a painful thing to think about. After abandoned the excellent perfection of congregational kirtan. It's so amazing, right? It's so amazing that we could actually swallow our pride, and we could just, you know follow Prabhupada's instructions. That, okay, for example, now just hear this, okay, and this is going to poke you, and I'm saying it to poke you. I'm not going to apologize for this. That usually now, if you were to time travel back, 50 years from right now, right? So what's the date today? December 10th, 2025. If you were to time travel 50 years ago, December 10th, 1975, what would the entire Krishna consciousness movement be doing right now? Anyone remembers what goes on around this time? It's called the Prabhupada Marathon. Devotees were distributing so many books during the Prabhupada Marathon. But now, what has it become? What happens in December? We just get some extra time to do whatever. But how many of us are actually taking to the process given to us by Srila Prabhupada? How many of us? We've heard about it, right? I'm sure, especially if you're a disciple of Bhakti Vikas March, you definitely heard about it, right? Why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you doing it? Oh, I'm nervous. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. No, you're mental. That's all. There's nothing else. So many reasons. Oh, what will I do? This will happen. That'll happen. I have to do this. I have to do that. Prabhupada would have one or two devotees stay back in the whole temple to take care of the service of everyone else, and everyone else would go out. So we should do it. Sometimes we tell, we've given a very humble suggestion to some of you that every day at least you can go and distribute one small book. You can do that. We start and we stop and we stop and we start and we start and we stop and we stop, right? At least we have to, like, remind everyone 20,000 times, you please go and distribute one small book every day. Go and at least participate in the Sankirtan movement somehow. Hmm? But no, we have to go on. We have to push on this movement. It pleases Prabhupada so much. What do I get from saying this? Is it some personal ambition of mine that, that you distribute some books and it's some way, some sense gratification for me? No. It's something for you to do. You should go. You will experience the nectar. I remember there's this one very sweet couple who was just in my room just recently. They might be on this call. They distributed books for the first time. I think maybe 3 years ago or something. They were distributing books, and it was their first time on book distribution. And they distributed like a few Bhagavatam sets. And these devotees still now they remember how ecstatic it was distributing books. So that same ecstasy, we should go on. We should do it. Some devotees say, we joined the movement so many years, we don't know what it's like, what it means to go out on Prabhupada's books day in and day out. We have no idea, actually. So we should know it. We should know it. And don't let your mind cheat you. That is not what I am saying. That is what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying. So if you have a problem with me, you have a problem with what I'm saying, you're having a problem actually with what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying. Sorry, I had to throw in there, but I got to perform my duty. Verse number 9. ताई दुष्टमान निर्जन भजन प्रचारिचा छले खुयोगी वैभव प्रभु सनातने परम jatane shika dila jaha chinta se sab. So he goes on to say, verse number 9. Truly, O wicked mind, the glories of so called solitary worship are propagated only by false yogis using unscrupulous means to deceive others. To save yourself from these pitfalls, please contemplate the instructions that the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us while addressing Srila Sanatan Goswami with utmost care. Hmm? It's a very important point. That, sometimes you meet so many people, they say, stop your preaching. Oh, what is this? Book distribution is in the mode of passion. That is the mode of passion. Now, of course, right? It's so passionate. You have to go out. You have to pack all these books. You have to plan all this. You have to think about money. You have to think about this. Oh, all these people care about is money. They're going out on book distribution. All they care about is money. You'll hear so many things like this. But we can say that such mood is actually completely opposite to what our acharyas taught us. Right? Our acharyas taught us something completely different. What did our acharyas teach us? Our acharyas taught us that we must give our life to distributing these books. Our acharyas taught us. I mean, how much painstaking effort. Okay, now if you see the Sadgoswami Ashtakam, Nana Shastra Vicharanai Karipano, Sadharma Samstapako, Lokanam Hitakarino, Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanya Karo. Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyugo Sri Jiva Gopalako. Right? That the six Goswamis of Vrindavan very scrutinizingly studied the revealed scriptures and they gave us a conclusion. They gave us a conclusion of the revealed scriptures. And they wanted this knowledge to be distributed far and wide. Jiva Goswami personally loaded the first traveling Sankirtan vehicle of Srila Shyamananda Thakur, Srinivas Acharya, and Narottam Das Thakur. He personally loaded it, right? He got every manuscript that all the Goswamis wrote. He personally and he wrote a letter to one of his disciples to send like the best ox cart that was there at that time with the best oxen that were available, and he got 10 bodyguards to guard this truck, not truck, sorry, to guard this ox cart. And he personally loaded the whole, he personally loaded this. And he trained the first book distributors. The disciples of the Goswamis were the book distributors. They wanted this to happen. But then nowadays you'll find so many people, oh, no, no, that's from in the past. Now you have to, nowadays there's this I don't know whether to laugh or cry. So when I don't know what to do, I laugh about, or basically it's better than crying. There's one person who says that you can chant 64 rounds in 1.5 hours. 1.5 hours you can chant 64 rounds. And I was like, what's this person on? And then you can say there's devotees who have testimonies saying, now, I'm able to chant 64 rounds and he makes sure that his disciples will say, by the blessings of such and such person, I'm able to do it. I've been able to do it. So it's so ridiculous, actually. What did Prabhupada say? This is ecstatic purport in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Let me see if I can pull this up. I unfortunately don't remember the number off the top of my head, but oops. Uh, okay, 1 second. It should be okay. Adi Leela, chapter 17, text number 32. Okay, let's pull it up. Okay, better than looking at my face. Um, okay. So here, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami declares, Urdhva Baho Kari Kahon, Shuna Sarvaloka, Nama Sutri Ganti Para, Kante E Shloka. Raising my hands, I declare, everyone please hear me. Sing this verse on the thread of the holy name and wear it around your neck for continuous remembrance. Purport. When chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, in the beginning, one may commit offenses which are called Namabhas and Namaprad. In this stage, and there is no possibility of attaining of achieving perfect love of Krishna by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Therefore, one must chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra according to the principles of the above verse. Trinadapi sunichena taro reva sahishina. One should note in this connection that chanting involves the activities of the upper. Now, look, listen to this. This is smack in Prabhupada's purpose. I'm not making this up, right? So if you haven't paid attention this whole class, that's completely cool. But please, you can open both your eyes and both your ears and concentrate on this. One should note in this connection that the chanting involves the activities of the upper and lower lips as well as the tongue. All three must be engaged in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. The words Hare Krishna should be very distinctly pronounced and heard. Sometimes one mechanically produces a hissing sound. Have you ever come across that like I've heard so many things. Sometimes I remember when I was a brand new bhakta, there was a very interesting person. Yeah, and I was chanting my rounds back and forth, and then all of a sudden there was some sound coming down the hallway. It was like jig 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 dig 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 jig jig dug 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 dig dig. I was thinking like, what the heck is going on? And I go and I open the shoe room, and this person is sitting in the shoe room, and he's looking at his phone, playing video games while he's chanting his rounds. I was thinking, wow, this is amazing. You know, but sometimes one mechanically produces a hissing sound instead of chanting with proper pronunciation with the help of lips and the tongue. Chanting is very simple. There you go, Prabhupada says. Chanting is very simple, but one must practice it seriously. That's the whole point. Therefore, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, advises one to keep this verse always strung about his neck. It's very important, right? Chanting is very simple, but one must practice it seriously. Even I was just recent a couple of months ago, I was in some place, and then there was a person who talks normally, like the way you and me are speaking right now. He talks normally, but then he'd be all of a sudden we'd be chanting around Shishi Kumar Prabhu and myself, and all of it would be like Gab, and look back like what's that sound? And he chants a japa like that, like jig 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 gab yub yub jab. And this is ridiculous. I'm saying what the heck is going on, But this is a serious problem. It is plaguing our entire movement because people are somehow they if they even care about chanting 16 rounds, which unfortunately good amount of devotees these days don't care about, they just want to get rid of it as soon as possible. So now you meet all these kinds of, false yogis, kuyogi Vaishnav, right? He says, Te dushtaman, nirjan bhajan, pracharisha chale kuyogi vaipa. One thing about Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is there's no middle ground with him, right? He just lets us have it. He lets us have it. So many people will come and tell you, you stop preaching, you stop doing all these things. It's all about the holy name, and you have to like feel the bhav and feel the ecstasy, and you give me $5,000 and you'll become a manjari tomorrow, and all kinds of stupid things like this. Right? You read these esoteric books where you cannot control your mind and your senses, but all of a sudden, because you come in touch with a great Paramahamsa like me, you're eligible to read the great literatures of the Goswamis. Prabhupada's books, that's for neophytes. The real books are my books, like the most esoteric books here. Right? You meet many fools who tell you stuff like that. But you should be careful. You should be careful of associating with these people. You should be careful of listening from these people. And the whole point is if you want to chant the holy names properly, you have to follow Trinadapi Sunichena Taroreva Sahishana. Where will you develop your tolerance? Where will you develop your tolerance? Where will you develop your humility? Where will you develop your patience? Where will you develop this whole idea of amanina, manadina. Where will you develop all these things? Where will you develop these things? You won't develop when you're like listening to a hot girl singing in your temple. It doesn't work like that. I'm sorry. Prabhupada, just while we're on this point, I don't know why I'm being inspired to read this Prabhupada, but it is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and I think devotees would be very happy to, at least I don't know what happy, but at least you should be informed of this in Prabhupada's books. Over here, he says, okay. So important. Once Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became ecstatic upon hearing the songs of a Devi Dasi. Unaware of who was singing, he ran toward her through thorny bushes. But when Govinda informed the Lord that it was a woman singing, he immediately stopped. Now, listen to this. By this incident, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed everyone that sannyasis and Vaishnavas should not hear. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't share the screen. I'm going to share the screen for. I guess sorry, there was almost a punchline which almost got missed. But okay, now look at this. By this incident, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed everyone that sannyasis and Vaishnavas should not hear a woman singing. Right there in the Chaitanya Chaitanya. So, what about the Govindam prayers, Prabhuji? Well, about the Govindam prayers, when Prabhupada was asked, he said, yes, you can hear it because Yamuna Mataji is singing along with a lot of other people. It's a chorus, but her voice is turned up. So, that was Prabhupada's explanation. So, we understand from all these points that no matter what these people, they may come and tell you, these are all kuyogis, right? They'll come and tell you, do yoga, do this, do that. Preaching, Western preaching means you have to do yoga, you have to not preach about this in Prabhupada's books, forget about preaching about brahmacharya. Then we have one idiot who's become extremely popular on Instagram now. Actually, after I saw his video, I was very inspired to delete Instagram because I was getting suicidal and or homicidal. I was either going to like kill myself or like kill others or just like it's a joke, it's a joke, you know. But I was so fried out. I was like that's it. I'm done with this stupid nonsense. So this fool, he just speaks all kinds of garbage, and he's like, oh, fully in like some kind of sentimental bhav. It's so dumb, actually. So so these kind of cool yogis we don't want to listen to. We don't want to listen to these kind of cool yogis, and nothing good comes out of it. Nothing good comes out of it. So you should be careful of listening from cheaters. You should be careful from being cheated by these fools, actually. So he goes on to say, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, verse number 10, he goes on to say, Saiduvi kata bulina sarvata. Uchai swara kara harinama rava. Palgu ara jukta bhada ara mukta kabuna bhaviha eka kara sabha. Translation, he says, do not forget for a moment the two most valuable concepts that he taught, Mahaprabhu. By he, the he over here, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The principle of dry and apparent renunciation as opposed to real and appropriate renunciation. The principle of the soul being trapped in bondage of matter as opposed to soul who is liberated. Don't ever make the mistake of thinking that these conflicting concepts are on the same level. Please remember this while engaging yourself in chanting the Lord's holy names as loudly as you possibly can. So we have to remember and understand this point. That's why Rupa Goswami, he gave us this verse, Prapanchikataya bhutya hari sambandhi vastunaha mumukshubi parityago phalgu vairagya katyate. He says, Prapanchikataya bhutya hari sambandhi vastunaha. That, we see that, there is some object in this material world, right? There's some object in this material world, but then we can understand prapanchikataya buddhya. We can obtain that object from this material world. And what should we do? Hari sambandhi vastanaha. We need to see the relationship of that object with Lord Hari. Hari sambandhi vastanaha. We need to see its relationship with Lord Hari. Prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vastanaha. Mumukshubhi parityago phalgu vairagya katite. But if you give this up, thinking, it's all Maya, then that's your renunciation is that of a monkey. Palgu Vairagya, Markata Vairagya. Hmm? That's your renunciation. Therefore, we should understand these points very clearly. We should understand who's who, what's what is renunciation, what is not renunciation, right? And that's why there's Rupa Goswami writes another verse. Anasaktasya vishayan yataham upayunditaha nirbandha krishna sambandhi yuktam vairagya muchyate. That as long as we don't have ashakti, as long as we don't have attachment to these material things, which Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur will go on to speak about in the verses about to come, anasaktasya vishayan, as long as we don't have asakti towards or deep attachment to material sense objects, anasaktasya vishayan yataham upayunjita nirbandha Krishna sambandhi. We see its relationship in Krishna service and we engage that object in Krishna service. Yuktam vairagya muchyate. Yuktam vairagyam uchyate. Just like this, we have a laptop. I mean, actually, this is not my laptop. This is Ali Krishna Prabhu's laptop, which he's very mercifully let me borrow. So we have this laptop, and we're using it in Krishna service. Usually people don't use laptops in Krishna service. They use it to increase their kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, ityadi. That's what they use it for. But we like to use it in the service of Krishna. we see and we understand these points. That's why Prabhupada said the Mayavadis, if they see money, they say like this. They say no, no, no. The Mayavadi sannyasis. But Prabhupada said if, when the devotees when the devotees see money, they're like this, right? That means you give. Why? Because we can take all this money and engage in Krishna service. Why? Because like Hanuman, we see that the demoniac people like or the people with Ravana mentality have stolen, have taken Sita Devi. But like Hanuman, we want to bring back Sita Devi to serve Lord Rama. So that is a proper understanding. That's a proper understanding of these different points. And if we keep these points in mind, we can make a lot of advancement in Krishna consciousness. Because these are instructions that we must hear. It's a very important thing to hear. We must hear these. Hear these points again and again and again. Why? Otherwise, if we don't hear these points again and again and again, then we'll just become like hogs, dogs, camels, and asses. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wants to save us from these, right? And then he said the principle of the soul being trapped in bondage of matter as opposed to a soul who is liberated. So we can see that there is certainly a difference between one who is a jiva who's bound up in material existence, and there's the difference between a jiva who is liberated from this, Baddha jiva and Mukta jiva. So one must not equate both these things to be the same. For example, we should not imitate Srila Prabhupada. Some of the things that Srila Prabhupada did, we should not imitate them. We should follow them. That's why there's anukarana and there's anusharana. Anukarana means to imitate. If you imitate, you will fall down. Anusharana means to follow. If you follow, you will go back home, back to Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada, there's a difference between us and him in the simple and most obvious fact that he is liberated and we're not. Right? For example, how did Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur take sannyas? He took sannyas from a picture of Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Then his disciple took sannyas from a picture of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur because none of his godbrothers were willing to give him sannyas because he was having an illicit relationship with a woman. So, he did whatever he had to do with that woman, and then he apparently became renounced overnight. And then he took, or not overnight, as something happened, and he thought, okay, now it's time for me to take sannyas. And then he took sannyas from a picture of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And then he went on for some time. And then after some time, he became, uh, I guess, he's Prabhupada's godbrother. So we have to be very careful talking about this. He seems to have performed a pastime of, being taken over by the illusory energy. And, he rejected Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And then he went to Radhakund and chose like a very Rasik Babaji to learn from. And he was very renounced and he was a sannyasi and all this. And then he started learning from the sannyasi and then he fell in love with a prostitute and started living with the prostitute and he had a son with the prostitute. And then when he would go out to get money to maintain the wife or the woman that he was with along with his son, the son saw that this lady is meeting so many other men. He threatened his mom to tell his dad. So the mother gave this boy poison and killed him. And then when he came back and he found that his son was killed, he himself committed suicide. So it must be very heavy, 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 so heavy, so heavy. This person was so close to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was so close to him that the devotees said that there were two leading disciples of Bhakti Siddhanta. That if you want to know how to be engaged in Prabhupada service, which means Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur service, you go to this one devotee. They used to call him Seva Kunja, something like this. And then another devotee, this devotee who unfortunately performed the pastime of committing suicide. They said if you want to understand Shastra and learn exactly like if you want to hear someone speak like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, you gotta hear from him. And then this person was so attached to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur that he said that I challenge the illusory energy to see if she can move me away from the lotus feet of my Guru Maharaj. Should not make such challenges to the illusory energy. Why? Because there is a difference between Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and ourselves. There is a difference between Srila Prabhupada and ourselves. There is a huge difference. And we should always remember that difference. We should never act on a platform any different than that. Should always remember there's an eternal line of demarcation between the Savior and the saved. This is what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur taught us. An eternal line of demarcation between the Savior and the saved. And we must be very careful to not cross that line. Why? What happens if you cross that line? It's called Maryada Vyatikrama. We perform this action of Maryada Vyatikrama. We are going above our adhikar. We're going above these points. And because we're going above these points, what's going to happen to us? We're going to be stuck in this material world. Falgu ara jukta, badda ara mukta. He's quoting, he's saying this. Very important point. So heavy, so heavy. It's so heavy. My God. It's crazy. Falgu ara jukta, badda ara mukta. Kabuna bhaviya ekakara sab. Never at any point of time, don't ever make the mistake of thinking that these conflicting concepts are on the same level. Please remember this while engaging yourself in chanting the Lord's holy names as loudly as you possibly can. So when we're chanting the holy names of Krishna, we should remember that we should never mix up these opposing principles of dry renunciation and appropriate renunciation, or dry renunciation and applied renunciation, and the difference between a liberated soul and a conditioned soul. We should never equate both these things. You must understand our position. It is very easy because, especially when you meet these rascal kuyogis who Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is referring to in verse number 9, I'll just show it to you to refresh your memory. He says, Tai Dushtaman Nirjana Bhajan Prachare Chachale Kuyogi Vaibhava. Right? So we'll meet many kuyogis even within the Krishna consciousness movement. We'll meet many kuyogis. Right? They will come, they will do a big drama, they will speak about this and that. But you see, all these idiots on social media, they just become was motivational speakers. Idiots, complete idiots, right? And it's amazing actually. It's amazing how much knowledge. They know so many verses. They know so at least more than me. They know so many verses. And like all this. And we met one such idiot, and we sat in this idiot's class, and because it was a politically correct thing to do, unfortunately. And this idiot is quoting so many verses. Oh, this, that he's quoting. But that day I realized that these fellows know verses, but they don't know the purport. They know the verses. They know the verses so well. Fat, 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 fat. They'll quote so many verses. I mean, just like the Sai Baba people. Some of them know so many verses. I am knowing my child has won Bhagavad Gita medal, and my daughter has won this recitation competition and this and that. And then you can tell them, you just quote any verse from Bhagavad Gita and you say, okay, say Asatyama Pratishtamte. Then immediately, Asatyama Pratishtamte, Jagadahuranishwaram, Apparaspara Sambhutam, Kimanyat Kama Haitukam. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what that means. And I tell them, there is Krishna speaks about you in the Bhagavad Gita. Really? Krishna speaks about me in the Bhagavad Gita. What verse is that? Namam Duskitino Moodha. You're a fool. Krishna tells you, Krishna speaks about you in the Bhagavad Gita. So these people, they don't know. They don't know. They know so many verses, but they don't know Srila Prabhupada's purpose. So they're simply disguised as being followers of Srila Prabhupada, but they're not following Srila Prabhupada. They may write big, big books and this, that, and the other thing, and have so many videos, and they may be so popular, so popular. There's one famous idiot, he has a Telugu channel. He speaks all these things. He speaks so many nice things about Krishna, but he also speaks so many stuff about mundane nonsense against Srila Prabhupada's instructions. And so many people who speak the Telugu language think, oh, such and such Prabhuji is so nice. Why is he nice? Read Prabhupada's books, you'll see. This guy is just bluffing you. He'll tell you this, he'll tell you that also. One must never mistake. That's why Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying, why am I speaking so heavily? I'm sorry, you asked me to speak on this, so I'm speaking the truth. What Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is speaking all these things. One must never mistake the mode of goodness with the mode of pure goodness. One must never mistake the talks of the great acharyas and those who repeat their message with talks of these people who just have no idea about what Prabhupada actually said. You see, these people are very careful. They try to make you listen only to the nice stuff. You don't listen to You should understand what's what, who's who. Understand from Prabhupada's purpose. Otherwise, we're simply wasting our time. So now let's see how far in we are as far as this is concerned. So we still have nine more verses to go, and verse number 17 is super duper. So that might itself be a whole class. So I'll end the class over here. Sorry for the hellfire and the brimstone, but that's what the verse is asking for. So if there's any questions or comments or protests or I don't know what else that could be, we could take them now. You could raise your hand or unmute your microphone while I take a little water break. Anything from all? Wow, we have 23 people today. That's amazing. Thank you for coming. I hope I didn't scare you off. But so anything from anyone?
Prabhu, I have a question. Looking for some recommendations from you on when the mind just wants to get over with chanting. What can we do to pull it back to trying and being concentrated and absorbed?
Mam Anusmani Yudhyacha. Right? Krishna tells us in the Bhagavad Gita. He's been, oh, Nikhil, good to see you on a Wednesday. Wow.
Yes.
Pleasant surprise. So, one thing is Krishna gives us a quite a lot. So, my go-to verse is this. I've probably shared this verse a dozen times. I shared it with you also when I was with you in California, actually. Over here, the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is like my go-to mind verse, actually.
11:23.
5, uh, 17. Yep. भ्रातव्यम् एनं तदध अथब्रवीर्यम् उपेक्षया ये धृतमप्रमत्तः गुरोर्हरे चरणोपासनास्त्रो जहीव्यलीकं स्वयमात्ममोषम्. Right? It's uncontrolled mind. Remember I shared this verse with you, Nikhil?
Yes, bro.
Anyway, that day was like let's see how many verses we can read day, huh? Anyway, this uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy of the living entity. If one neglects it or gives it a chance, it'll grow more and more powerful and will become victorious. Although it is not factual, it is very strong. It covers the constitutional position of the soul. O king, please try to conquer the mind by the weapon of service to the lotus feet of the spiritual master and of the supreme personality of Godhead. Do this with great care. So this is something which I use, which is very helpful for me, is to be surrendered. Because if you read the purport, Prabhupada gives you two choices. The first line of the purport is he gives you the choice to neglect it, and the last line
Mm.
of the purport, Prabhupada gives you the choice of following the orders of the spiritual master. So you can choose, right, what works best for you. So I would suggest following the orders of the spiritual master to be the best method of doing it because you get the special mercy. And the other one, of course, Rupa Goswami teaches us anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. That you accept what's favorable and you reject what's unfavorable. You know? So if you were to do that, then that should be helpful. Does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, Jai. So now and then who's up next? We have Kavya Mataji. Wow, 2 for 2. Yes. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvar Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai,
Thank you
always Prabhupada.
for such enlightening session. Prabhuji, my question is regarding the book distribution. Many a times when I go for the seva, when I make an attempt to go out and so, I come across a lot of people who question, like who say that "Oh, we have everything in mobiles and we don't need books.
Mm.
We can read, then why you are making such stupid effort to kind of trying to convince people to take books and like how to uh, deal with such questions and people like they say that everything is available in device, why do you
Mm.
need books?
So then you ask them, you had your device all this while. Have you ever read one line of Bhagavad Gita? The real answer will be no.
No,
So then shut
yeah,
your mouth and take the book. That's what that's what I tell them straight up.
yeah.
Yes, I told that to them. So many people, everything is online. But yeah, so many things are online. How many times have you read it? Never, right? So now you should take it.
Hmm,
See,
correct.
these
Yeah.
people, they'll give you why you're such an effort, just do this, just do that, but what has come out of it? Nothing has come out of it. And I asked them if, and I actually had a very, candid conversation with a few people. I said,
Hmm.
everything is online. How much time have you spent using your phone, listening, reading Bhagavad Gita and hearing talks on Bhagavad Gita? How much time have you spent on your phone watching stuff I would not like to mention? How
True.
much time have you spent? So just be real with them. Just come on. Don't tell them you're not fooling anyone. You're just fooling yourself. And you want to continue fooling yourself, you can do that. But you're not fooling me.
Yeah. So yeah, I will try to pass on the same energy with which you have
Yeah, go for it.
answered.
Just kill it. Just go out there and kill. And it's amazing that we've been we have a very close relationship with the devotees in Hungary now, and the devotees in Hungary are shooting Bhagavatam sets. And these are Hungarians,
Yeah.
talking in Hungarian, and they're distributing books to people in the Hungary country. They're not Indians, they don't know anything, but they're distributing sets of Bhagavatam.
Hmm.
So what excuse do we have?
Yeah. Correct. And
So
the best part which I liked, which you mentioned about your Guru Maharaj, is like hearing with contemplation leads to realization. This will
yeah,
stay with
that's
me
fired up,
forever.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
that's
will
pretty fired
stay
up.
with me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Thank
really
you, Prabhuji.
yeah.
Thank you so
All
much for
kinds of
that.
back to Vikas Maharaj.
Yeah.
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 Amazing. Yeah, yeah. Anything else? Okay, if there's nothing else. Okay, so while we're here, let's see. Yeah, wow, even Giri Dari is here too. Wow, Giri Dari, good to see you after a long time, Jai. So while we're here, I'm thinking, so what should we do? Right? Should we keep plowing through until we're done with Dushtaman, or should we get back to our Bhagavad Gita class? This has been a this has been quite a fired up session to say the least, I guess, huh? So
I
what
think let us
We
continue,
will
Prabhuji.
continue
We
with
can
this and
continue, Prabhu.
complete, Prabhuji.
okay, that's the Vox Populi. All right. So then I guess the next question would be, you know, um, our marathon is going to be starting, and I am going to be on the road starting. Basically, I'm going to be on the road starting Sunday, but we could still have a class on Wednesday. Should we try to see if we can have any extra sessions? I'm actually even available this weekend. Both this actually never happens, but I'm available this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I'm available. So I'm more or less I'm available most of these days because I'm you know trying to get the Lakshmi together to get many things renovated on the farm now. So if maybe we could have a poll on the group and see if devotees would be. So what do you think? Should we have some extra sessions because we'll be missing because during the marathon I'll definitely be. Our marathon is between again December 19th till January 3rd. How many Wednesdays are between that? Let's see. December 19th is a Friday, and then there's two. Okay, so there's two Wednesdays. Yeah, there's two Wednesdays. So we'll be missing out on those two Wednesdays. So maybe we could have the makeup classes before our Prabhupada marathon. What do you think? What's your opinion? You feel free to unmute your microphones and share your opinion. What do the devotees think? What are your availabilities and all that? Should we just do a poll? What should we do?
Can
We
we do
can
on Friday?
have,
What happened? What were you saying?
Can we do like on Friday and Saturday, Prabhu? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good. I could do that.
Saturdays and Sundays, I think morning time should be okay for me, Prabhuji.
Uh-huh.
Anytime.
So why don't we do a poll? Because we'll be missing out on two sessions, and if I could do those two sessions, then we'll be pretty much caught up. And yeah, I think I should. That should be good. So maybe we can have a poll on the WhatsApp group. So Jayadanandan Prabhu, maybe you could make that.
Yes,
Poll.
Prabhuji.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, Shritan came today too. Wow, this is amazing. We have many VIPs. Fanish is first time. Awesome. Thank you all for coming. So I'll see you. I guess we'll find out when. We'll find out. I don't know. By the way, also we're doing a japa call every morning, 5:30 a.m. to 6:55 a.m. every day. We're doing it in Eastern Standard Time. So if anyone wants to join, there's a link on the group that has been pinned. You can just call up and just chant japa with us. Fanish, you're raising your hand. Yes.
Prabhuji, we are joining your class without fail on Wednesdays.
Okay. Okay. Nikhil, yes.
Prabhu, there's a Bhagavatam class also weekly.
No, we just have a
Vishnu Chitta
reading.
Prabhu does one.
Yeah, Vishnuchitra Prabhu does Bhagavatam reading, and I think he does a class on Monday, right? Vedavyas Priya Prabhu?
Thursday.
It's Thursday. Thursday. He does a class tomorrow, so it's a
Okay.
Bhagavatam class also. So please
Okay.
join.
Could we post that on the group so I could just save those
Yeah. Yeah,
recordings?
sure, sure, sure. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, okay, Jai.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
as per the previous poll, many are available on Monday. So can we continue that slot?
Yeah, we can continue that slot, and then maybe if we can have one more day, then it'll make up for the 2 days that we won't, 2 Wednesdays that we won't have the session in the marathon. So
So
Monday, and then
which 2 days we don't
because
have, Prabhuji?
during the marathon, there's 2 Wednesdays we'll be missing out on.
Okay.
So we'll just have to have one more day.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay. Jai, all right. Thank you all for your kind attention. Vancha Kalpataru Vyasya Kripasinda Bheva Cha Paditana